it won't work and they won't work anymore. Yeah, that wasn't my finest moment. My name's Emily, welcome back to my channel where I talk about motherhood, minimalism and Montessori. Today I'm back with another product review with one of our family favourites, the Yoto Player. We've had our main Yoto, this one, which is their standard Yoto Player, for over 2 years now. I think Violet got it for her 2nd birthday and she is just over 4. This is by the brand Yoto UK, and we have since purchased Yoto Minis, Yoto headphones, a million Yoto cards, and just more recently the travel case, which shows that overall this is something that we really love. However, there are some things that you should be aware of when you are looking at the Yoto Player. Some things about it are absolutely brilliant, and there are a couple of things that are just not so great. So stay tuned for a comprehensive pros and cons of the Yoto Player from people who know what they're talking about and have really put these items to the test. The first item we're going to talk about today is the standard Yoto Player itself. This chunky box is a screen-free music player, in the sense that obviously it doesn't have moving images like an iPad or a phone that your child might use to watch music on. That's not something that our kids have access to. So we wanted something that would give them control and choice over what they're listening to, music or audiobooks, but not provide that highly stimulating visual environment. Audiobooks are another way of expanding children's literacy. They allow the imagination to create the picture for the child when they're listening, just like listening to books. Obviously it doesn't replace reading to your child, but anything that provides for further opportunities for literacy is fine by me.
Mommy, Daddy.
Yeah.
Nothing happened at all.
Picture.
Yeah.
Picture.
A picture
Mom.
of Mum.
Picture.
Yeah. The Yoto Player comes with 2 buttons up the top. One of them controls the volume and the other controls the tracks. Now they can also just press the buttons to move forward and back along the album or along the chapters of a book. You can also double click on these buttons and you can set it to link to the podcast and the radio station provided for kids by Yoto itself, which is really good. Our kids haven't got super into that, so it's not an area that I'm very familiar with. However, I think it's wonderful for older children particularly to have that daily content to link to. It's a kids appropriate radio show. Our kids are probably just a little bit young for it at the moment. And then there's an option for Yoto Sleep Radio, which is the more calming, soothing items as well. So Yoto itself puts out this content and goes out of its way to create something that is child friendly and interesting on an ongoing basis rather than just having to buy the cards. Yoto Player works with Yoto cards. They look like this. They have a symbol on the back to denote whether they're an audiobook, music, or a make your own card, which I'll get into more later. So it's very simple. It's a stiff card like a credit card. Inserts in the top and flips onto the audio itself. It has a little very basic pixelated picture to show where you are in the story, so that if a child is navigating through and they are not,
I've got a sort of idea. Halfway between,
yeah, so they can use these little symbols, find what chapter they want to get to or what song they want to get to. Cards themselves are very strong. If you look closely at this Winnie the Pooh card, you can see that it has been bent within an inch of its life. For some reason, best known to herself, my 4-year-old decided to spend a whole afternoon flicking this card back and forth, possibly an attempt to break it. Who actually knows why they do what they do? Persevered. It is still here with us and it still works absolutely perfectly. It's just got that slight line. So these are very good. One thing I will say, don't do what I did and punch holes in the top of your Yoto cards to string them onto a keyring. But it persevered. It is still here with us and it still works absolutely perfectly. It's just got that slight line. So these are very good. One thing I will say, don't do what I did and punch holes in the top of your Yoto cards to string them onto a keyring. It won't work and they won't work anymore. Yeah, that wasn't my finest moment. However, Yoto cards are not the only way that you can listen to the device. When you purchase a card from the Yoto store, it's actually instantly available digitally in your app. And you purchase the card and you've always got the digital version. So even when I maimed one of Violet's most beloved stories, Alfie Gets In First, by punching a hole through it, we could use a make your own card and use our computer to put the digital version of the card from our Yoto account onto this card, which then works exactly like the original did.
An evening at Alfie's.
Each Yoto Player comes with a make your own card. That is the welcome card. So this has the setup instructions for the card on it, but then you can rewrite over this card and turn it into anything you want. So with that, we can also buy other packs of make your own cards. So this was a normal make your own card, and when Violet became obsessed with the soundtrack from Frozen, as is apparently a stage for every child during toddlerhood, we were able to put the music from Frozen on there. You can't use music from just any source. So for example, you can't just put a Spotify playlist straight onto a Yoto card. I do give you quite comprehensive instructions on how to do it. We've used a lot of music that we've been able to download from like YouTube or similar, and then you can obviously upload CDs and things if anybody still has any CDs. Anyone? No. With that, this works really well as an okay to wake clock. So if you look at the screen here, we've got the sun, and we have set on our app the times we want this display to change to a picture of a moon to indicate that it is nighttime and you need to stay in your bed. So between 5:30 a.m. and 6:15 a.m. this is a moon display. Those aren't necessarily the hours that our children are asleep, but they do know that they aren't allowed to come upstairs in the morning until there's a sun on the Yoto. So that's one of our very familiar family phrases by now. And it just means that if we have a night where they do need to go to bed early, we don't need to stuff around changing the time because we've got it set from an earlier time, so we don't get the but it's still a sun on the Yoto. I made that mistake a couple of times. This does also work as a night light. So when you tip it over, you'll see that the edges of it light up. However, in my opinion, that's one of the really weird things about the Yoto Player, because if you've got it face down as a night light, that's all well and good, but then you can't use the okay to wake clock at the same time because you can't see the display. I kind of don't see the point. We end up using a separate lamp for a night light because we want the okay to wake clock, we want the display, and we want the kids to be able to flick back and forth. This is kept in Violet's room next to her bed, and actually Freddie's going to be getting this same one for his birthday, which is coming up in the coming week. He's turning 2. It is able to be used off the charger. See the charging port in the, I think you've got 4 hours of battery life, and you can determine on the app again how long you'd like it to stay awake for before shutting itself off when it is not plugged in. It's quite bulky and it is quite heavy, so I wouldn't say that this is the ideal portable option. So overall, fantastic for home. Don't really recommend this for travel. You can buy an adventure jacket, a silicone cover for this in the Yoto store, but bother getting the ones for the bedrooms because, as I said, they're not really being moved around. They do have quite large speakers, but I wouldn't say that the sound quality is anything like you'd get from a proper speaker system. More about the fact that kids can navigate through their own music and audio really easily. It's fairly resilient, as is appropriate for young children. There's great variety of cards in the Yoto store, and I just think that this has been one of the best things that we've bought for our family. The Yoto Player can also be used with headphones. There is a headphone jack, there it is, for your old-fashioned plug-in headphones, and you can also Bluetooth other content from your phone other than what's just in the audio store. I've been reading Little House in the Big Woods with Violet. It was one of my favorites as a kid, and I'm really excited that she's getting into it. We don't have that on a Yoto card as yet, although I'm sure we'll get around to putting it on one at some point. So I just Bluetooth a read aloud from YouTube to her Yoto Player. The only annoying thing about that aspect is that you have to be in contact with this to turn the Bluetooth on. So if I want to get that playing on her, I have to go into her room and hold down the button until I see the Bluetooth symbol, and then I can broadcast it from my phone. So this currently retails for £89.99 in the UK store. Yoto does have an Australian store where they have a few of their items stocked, but this is always sold out, and I've actually never bought anything from them because firstly, the range is so limited. Secondly, it's always sold out. You can also buy selected products on Amazon. However, I find that they are a lot more expensive. So translated to Australian dollars, the one of these that we just bought for Freddie cost us 161 Australian dollars. On Amazon, it was over 200 for the same thing. So we have to use an adapter plug, and that's annoying because the plug for the Yoto machine is the bulkiest thing in existence. I mean, why does it need to be this big? When you attach this on, the thing is bigger than the device itself. I mean, it's just ludicrous. The good thing about the charger is that it is a magnetic docking station for the device. They don't actually have to fuss around with the plugs themselves. So that is the Yoto Player, the basic, the original. It's fabulous. However, there are many other items in the Yoto line that we have also gathered over the last 2 and a bit years. The first and most obvious one to discuss is the Yoto Mini. So this is the packaged version. Now, I just had to repurchase our Yoto Minis because even though the Yoto Mini is very durable, and even though we have silicone covers, the adventure jackets on our Yoto Minis, we had forgotten to inform our youngest child that being able to take it out and about did not extend to the mud kitchen twice. So both of our Yoto Minis met an untimely end. Actually, the sound on them still worked, which was very impressive. However, the screen was fried. We did try to rescue it, and we have a bag of Yoto components that have been deconstructed by my husband sitting up in a cupboard, but sadly they were beyond repair. So we did pick up new Yoto Minis for the older kids to be used when we are out and about. They're wonderful for the car. We've done some long plane trips over to the other side of the country to visit family, and they're an absolute godsend. And I also picked one up for the baby because these can also double as sound machines. If you're going to be using your Yoto Minis for travel, you're going to need headphones. You can use any headphones with the jack. I really like these ones, that they are child size, but also extendable. You can restrict the volume. So on the Yoto app, you can restrict the volume of both the device itself and of the headphones. You just want to make sure you're not actually restricting both, because then you won't be able to hear just about anything. The volume in total doesn't actually go very loud. They're very careful about not producing something that can damage children's ears, which I appreciate. And the headphones are comfortable and a godsend because you don't have to listen to Incy Wincy Spider on repeat. These also fold fairly compactly. And a new addition to the Yoto line that we have just purchased and have not yet tried is the travel case for the Mini. So this is going to fit the Mini, cards, headphones, charging dock, the whole 9 yards, and also has a hole in it, an eyelet in it for the headphone cord, so that the Yoto Player can be kept safe when it's out and about. Still don't take it near a mud kitchen. The Yoto Mini retails for what translates to about 101 Australian dollars, at least it did a couple of weeks ago. Another item that we have from Yoto is the card album. I can't remember exactly what they've called it. If you hear squeaking, Lynx has joined me. Okay. To store our Yoto cards. I wish that the Yoto website had like a registry or a gift list, wish list option, because previously we have asked people to gift Yoto cards as like a birthday present option. It would be really great to have like a registry list option. So this, you can store your cards individually in sleeves. We only allow our kids about 5 cards out. We have these little card stands that I got off of Etsy, and we fill those up with cards for their rooms. More than that, they become overwhelmed, the cards get misplaced. Then we would rotate through our really great selection of cards like we do many other things. Oh dear. Who's that? Who's that in the camera? The Yoto cards aren't particularly cheap. I think you're probably paying for a card what you would pay for a hard copy book. If you're in Australia, obviously you have to contend with the exchange rate and also with the shipping. So to ship the larger items like the Yoto Players and stuff, it's actually £20, which is obviously equates to 30 to 40 Australian dollars depending on the exchange rate. So for us it was worth it to buy several items at once, even if we weren't planning to use them all at the same time. I believe the postage for just cards is cheaper, about £5 British, so roughly 10 Australian dollars. So I feel like we have been the perfect people to road test the Yoto Player. We've left cards on planes, we've punched holes in cards, we've put Yoto Players in the mud kitchen, we've taken them all across the country with us, and overall we think that they are one of the best things that we have found. There are alternatives to screen-free music players around. I know that the Birdie one is one, but I don't think that's quite as easy to navigate, and I'm really pleased that we did go with Yoto, especially because they keep bringing out cool new little additions like the travel case, which I just am kind of obsessed with. It's adorable. So that is it for my review of Yoto products, the Yoto Player, the Yoto Player Mini, and the Yoto accessories. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. As always, this is not sponsored. I'm not affiliated with Yoto in any way. I just like to share things that have been useful for our family. even if they are a bit of an investment, I think that something like this is great for keeping kids busy and entertained and expanding their imaginations, which is all that any of us could ever hope for. All right, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Please click the link and feel free to go and follow me over on Instagram for more daily adventures and little snippets of life with my 3 little rat bags. Okay, that's it for now. Bye. Raisha, bye. Raisha, bye.